back at Sandown, and the field underway on their first lap of round one of the new championship in Australia, the Australian 2-litre Touring Car Championship. And the field roars through, and it is John Smith from Sydney in an all-new front-wheel drive Corolla, car number 11, that leads the field. Drew Price in second place. I think it's Roland Hill in a Group E car in third place. That's a sensation. Then followed by, I think it's Bob Holden and John White in the Gemini. A good along the back straight now for the first time on the 3.9-kilometre circuit. Smith and Drew Price side by side, locking out the 5-litre Commodore. And Smithy's little beast having a big rev down the back straight. Look at Hill on the outside. Through to second. Drew momentarily back into third. The three of them side by side as they go to the left-hander at the end of the back straight. And John Smith the leader once more.
Roland's got the sideways shift there. He didn't come out of that all that well. So Johnny Smith going through. Oh, what a feeling. A 1-2 for Toyota at this stage. The new 2-litre Touring Car Championship. So long now, of course, the small car categories have run at the back of the field in the Australian Touring Car Championship. And CAMS, the Confederation of Australian Motorsport, deciding to put on a national series, a national championship for the 2-litre touring cars. It seems to be working well. They didn't really have a full field, so a lot of the Group B cars have been included, so they're running in class structure in this race this afternoon. Bob Holden also well positioned at this stage.
Well, at least it gives the 2-litre guys a look at the checkered flag, doesn't it?
It certainly does. They get to see it clear too, not from behind some Commodores, Nissans or Volvos.
12 laps this journey, and John Smith in the all-new Toyota Corolla. Only been in the country now for about 2 weeks, flown in direct from Japan, built by Toyota Racing Development in Japan, full racing car. As I said before, front-wheel drive, 185 odd brake horsepower, so virtually identical to the output of the car behind, and that's Drew Price.
And here they are side by side with Price in car number 16 going the outside. So Price leads from Johnny Smith at this stage, and Bob Holden making his way up into third. We'll be back with more action in a moment.
Battle for second and third place between Johnny Smith and Bob Holden.
And there's Bob Holden just slipping through on the inside of Johnny Smith, so he's moved up to second at the moment in the Toyota Sprinter. And whether or not he can pull back Drew Price, we'll have to wait and see. But good to see Bob Holden. He's been a regular on the circuit for, I don't know, 2 decades. Not to be outdone, I'd say Johnny Smith is looking to try and fight back as they head up Motorcraft Hill again, getting set now for the left-hander. So Bob Holden has been able to pull back a little of that extensive lead that Drew Price held at the completion of the first lap. There's Holden. Smith still battling there in car number 11, the Corolla.
David Ratcliff, who's also driving a Toyota Levin, has moved up into 4th place in the race, ahead now of Rolly Hill.
One of the interesting things about Bob Holden, certainly one of the longest campaigners in Australian motorsport, and I think a few people have forgotten these days, is he's actually a winner of the Great Mountain Classic up at Bathurst in 1966 when he teamed with Rano Aaltonen. And it's almost hard to imagine racing without Bob Holden. He's been involved for a long, long time, loves driving this Toyota, very similar specification to the car that leads the field at the moment, being driven by Drew Price. And it's John Smith having a battle at the moment in the front-wheel drive Corolla, an all-new car, a car still with a lot of development left in it. He was saying yesterday that they haven't had an awful lot of time to sort out suspension and so forth, and it's a real handful to drive, quite hard on his arms at the moment. It's got little slick tyres on it, using the Dunlop 195 compound, which is a tyre they've been using on the Corollas for a while. Here comes Smithy, still having a big run here. In fact, Bob Holden starting to pick up Drew Price at this stage. There's Smithy under some late braking. Setting it up out wide. Can he do it? He's going to give it one good shot, I'll tell you. And John Smith and Bob Holden. So Toyota having a field day here in the first round of the under 2-litre championship.
Top 4 placings in the race at the present time. Price, Smith, Holden and Ratcliff. Roland Hill in car 26 slipping back into 5th place after making a great start from 8th position on the grid to be up fighting for the early race lead. There we are, David Ratcliff there in 4th position on the track. Doing it well, as we said. quartet of Toyotas up front in the race at the present time. And the others really not making all that much impression, Neil Compton.
David, one of the drivers known to us, of course, in Group E racing, drove regularly last year at Amberoo Park in the Mitsubishi Cordia, and has now moved into the Group A ranks and feels that the under 2 litre championship challenge is a good one.
58 goes through, but the Toyotas, the team Toyotas, and
Holden holds on to second. What a great campaigner, we mentioned that. No substitute for experience, and Bob Holden's got plenty of it.
See whether Drew Price can pull out of the draft and go back after his teammate. John Smith leads coming up the back straight from Bob Holden. And whether or not Price can get on even terms as they come to Motorcraft Hill.
Right, gee, they're giving the rest of the field a real shellacking, and there goes Bob. Back to the front, and look out, Smithy, here comes Drew Price as well.
Down into the infield loop. Out of that turn, Bob Holden, number 13. And the two Toyota team cars sitting right in behind him. Bob can't get a break on them.
More cut and thrust in this than an old Errol Flynn movie.
I guess John Smith is best known to us for his exploits in open wheel racing, particularly Formula Mondial and sports cars. One of the things that we haven't seen John in over the years, and we've seen him in lots of different cars, is a front-wheel drive car. It's his first race in a front-wheel drive car. And he said yesterday, as I said before, boy, it's real hard work. You get an awful lot of torque steer through the front wheels and transmit it back through the driver's steering wheel. It wants to rip out of your hand with the amount of horsepower that this car puts out. So it's off to the gym next week for Smithy, he's decided.
For a first outing, though, this gives you some idea of the car's potential.
It's a great little car. It's beautifully engineered. Really good-looking motor car, and I think once they've had time, once Tony Niavani and the team have had time to work on it, then it will be a very fast car, and I'm sure will embarrass some of our big cars.
Not much in it. Bob Holden there leading by oil. I tell you what, a good foot. But at the moment on the inside, he comes back. Johnny Smith and Drew Price. Price takes over just for a spell. Holden down the outside. Smithy goes the inside route.
We're concentrating on the top three because that's where the action is, and it's a long way back to the fourth place getter David Ratcliff, and quite a long way back then to car 3 Peter Fitzgerald. But you can't get any better than this. Up front and really mixing it.
You've just tuned in, it's Toyota Showbiz time. Bob Holden will lead up Motorcraft. Smithy sitting in behind, and Drew Price takes up rear gunner's position now. See whether or not Smith can extract the horsepower to get past Holden on the run-up Motorcraft.
Incidentally, the battle in the Group E side of things, as Smith goes through again and gets him, so John Smith back in the lead. Well, that's braking performance for you for the new car. Fine effort. Yeah, I was about to say that in the Group E battle, Fitz is leading Roland Hill as now Drew Price comes through on the inside. So it's Toyota Team 1 and 2 once again. Or is it? No, Bob Holden wants to come back in across the bows of Drew Price. I think he's managed to do it. Yes, he has.
Gone half-lap distance too in this race.
They head up now towards Dunlop, and at this stage Smithy still in front in car number 11. There's Bob Holden still trying to hold out Drew Price as they come out of there to Dunlop and past the pit area yet again. Great scrap this in the opening race of the National Touring Car Championship. Let's recap them. Johnny Smith is your race leader. Veteran Bob Holden is in second.
Up front, Bob Holden continues to lead. Drew Price is in second place. John Smith third, and that's likely to change before I finish talking, Neil Compton.
It's a good act, isn't it, 5G? They're really getting stuck into it. But look at this. This is the battle for the production cars in the race, the Group E regulation cars. It's being led by Peter Fitzgerald in car number 3 in the east side entry, and right behind him is Roland Hill in the 5-litre Commodore. Group E racing so far this year has been tremendous, and the fields continue to swell, and I'm sure the way things are going, we have to have a national championship in this class next year.
While the battle goes on in this 2-litre championship, let's take you down to the pit area now and to Mike Raymond.
Thank you, Gary Wilkinson. Well, down here in the pits, the teams are putting the final touches to the cars for the third round of the Australian Touring Car Championship this afternoon. During our telecast from Amaroo last Sunday, we pointed out that the planned 24-hour race at Mount Panorama Bathurst in 1988 was definitely off. It was coming back to a 1,000k race. The other good news from Europe this week is there is going to be a World Touring Car Championship 1987, and one Australian track is definitely in line. The championship opener is almost certain to be at Wellington, New Zealand on the revamped street course which hosted the Nissan Mobile 500 for the past 2 years. The waterfront enduro should open the title chase in January. Australia's great race, the James Hardie 1000, is virtually guaranteed of World Championship status. FISA is well aware of the popularity of the established mountain classic, not only within Australia, but also overseas. The 1985 James Hardie 1000 was seen by an estimated 160 million viewers around the world, and FISA insiders claim it is already the most professionally presented touring car event on the international calendar. Other World Championship races are likely to be nominated shortly at Monza in Italy, Silverstone, England, Estoril in Portugal, Brno, Czechoslovakia, Nogaro in France, Spa, Belgium, Anderstorp in Sweden, Hockenheim in West Germany, Zeltweg in Austria, and Mount Fuji, Japan.
That's fantastic, because that's why I came back into motorsport.
Well, if we have the budget, we will do it, provided it doesn't clash with any of the races we have in Australia. And this is more important to me and my sponsors, is the local scene, and that's where we will remain until such time as something different sort of eventuates.
Good point about it is that it gives us drivers in Australia and New Zealand a chance to compete against the best drivers in the world in similar cars. So it really does mean that we can perhaps prove that we are as good as anybody else.
The company have been looking forward to this. We thought it was going to be coming this way. Now it's a matter of getting the company to do something about it for next year. We're hopeful of doing something ourselves, and we'd like to do the whole series.
Any world championship says you've got world champions, because that's what it's all about, and that really does lift the game. Fantastic.
What about the two circuits already nominated, Bathurst in New South Wales and Wellington?
Well, I think Bathurst is great, and I think Wellington, provided it doesn't sink below the face of the waves, is also great.
So a genuine World Touring Car Championship starts in January 1987, and good to see the James Hardie 1000 as part of that world title. Adelaide might have been alive in 1985, but for touring car drivers, 87 brings them closer to heaven.
Coming down with just over 2 laps to go now in the Australian 2-litre Touring Car Championship race, and golly gosh, it's Johnny Smith back in front again from Drew Price and Bob Holden in third place.
Well, how do you predict this one? And coming into the background there is also David Ratcliff in the other Toyota, so 4 Toyotas really mixing it at the moment, and that battle continues with the Group E cars. But John Smith on top of things at present in car 11 from Drew Price in 16, Bob Holden in 13, then David Ratcliff there in the black car. A portion of the crowd there enjoying the action as they come down the front straight.
The lead could change 3 or 4 times, I guess, before the end of the race, although Smithy's opening up a bit of a break now, isn't he? Down the bottom of the main straight with 2 laps remaining.
May have taken care of his tyres just a little more than perhaps the other two, and has opened up just a bit more of a gap. Starting now to thread his way through some slower traffic. Drew Price in second position, of course, a man well known to the karting fraternity in Australia, many times over state and national karting champion. We're talking sprint karts here too, as distinct from the enduro type gearbox karts. And he was drafted into the Toyota team in '85 and backed up John in the Touring Car Championship and joined him in the assault on the long distance championship events later in the year.
It's a good backup man to have, Drew Price. He keeps a pretty low profile, but he's always there to do the job, isn't he?
Well, he's consistent, he keeps the car straight, he doesn't cost them money, and he performs well, and that's the best kind of driver you can have.
Talking about performing well, Bob Holden has been doing it for many a long year and continues to do so, and he's really more than held his own in this 3-way battle with John Smith and Drew Price in this Australian 2-litre Touring Car Championship race at Sandown this afternoon.
One of the interesting things about John Smith is that the guy really has international talent, I believe. I remember seeing him a couple of years ago mixing with Jacques Lafitte at Calder in a rod, and I think you were there, in fact, Gary, and he has proven that he can go as quick in open wheel cars as the very best in the world, and I'm sure that as this 2-litre championship develops, particularly with the news that Mike Raymond has just given us about a world championship, we'll see John backing up against some of the better under 2-litre car drivers from around the world. And there are some very interesting vehicles being developed in that class at the moment. Fiat and Nissan and Toyota and a bunch of other vehicles are being mooted at present. If all goes well, we'll see a full
been an interesting opening round to the 2-litre championship. Drew Price at this stage closing up to the rear bumper of Johnny Smith's car. I wonder if they have any team instructions that they have problems with the Formula One squads.
What it has done is give a very clear signal to the rest of the competitors in this category, outside of the top 3, that they've got a bit of work to do.
They certainly have. Johnny Smith has shown enough with a brand new car here today to be totally competitive. He's starting to stretch the legs just a little bit as they race up the hill for the final time. Meanwhile, Bob Holden is getting closer all the time to Drew Price as they come up to this section. There's Bob Holden tucking in behind Drew Price as they come onto the loop area, the infield area.
This part of the circuit, and of course this track being so big, there are about 8 more passing chances before between here and the checkered flag. Slower traffic up front, moves out of the way wisely. Smith goes through, then Price, Holden. But Smithy looks like he's got this one, I'd say. Be very carefully watching the rearview mirror at this stage, and he's not about to give anybody half a chance.
I tell you, Bob Holden's on the boil.
What happened to Drew
Price? There he is. There he slowed up.
Yeah, very dramatically.
So something has happened there to Drew Price. That's bad luck indeed.
That'll promote David Ratcliff to 3rd place in car number 58.
Coming up to the last series of turns before they come onto the finishing straight here at Sandown. Bob Holden getting closer all the time to Johnny Smith. There's Drew Price.
Pulled off on the infield.
So he's had problems with the car number 16.
Well, what a shame. He's not going to take the flag. The flag is out, though, and Johnny Smith is certainly going to see it loom large in his windscreen in just a moment. In fact, there it goes for John Smith. Terrific win. Bob Holden crosses the line in 2nd place, and yes, by virtue of Drew Price and that unexplained loss of power there in the last lap, car number 58, David Ratcliff, has gone through for 3rd. Let's check them again. Number 11, John Smith first in a Corolla, 2nd car 13, Bob Holden, the Toyota Sprinter, and 3rd car 58, David Ratcliff in a Toyota Levin.